Last week, the show and highlights, some of the highlights of the show that I posted on the social platforms, rose some perfect. Thank you very much. Rose some questions, some eyebrows, etc. And understand, because it's unusual that when you have a certain stature or whatnot, that you may overtly pose certain questions regarding the state you're in and the reality of the business or the environment you're involved in, especially for the amount of time that I spent in that business, right? So she's saying that. Okay, we're good. All right. Yeah. But you have to understand that the necessity to ask yourself these questions allows you to always fine-tune your approach to the whole market, your approach to the whole business, and allows you, I think, to just consistently and constantly try to be better, right? And so my intervention on what I was saying was not so much of a rant, but more of an observation. And I feel like it's important to bring even more gravitas to that topic, because it is scary to have to ask yourself such questions, because if you don't have a contingency plan in place and a series of things that you've organized in order for you to make things work to your best advantage when some aspects of your business don't work out, is an absolute must. So with all that being said, today I wanted to talk about the 3 Ps, which stands for very different meanings depending on what you want to make them to be fitting, your personal reality. For me, there's 2 approaches to what it means: patience, 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 or prayer, patience, perseverance, right? But they do call on, but depending on the meaning you give to what those 3 Ps mean, they are intricately different in some aspects. Not saying that fundamentally they are, because you still need to have faith in yourself, faith in God, faith in whatever you have faith in, starting by having faith in you, and knowing that you're divinely, guided, and that everything is aligned for your best interest, right? And that you are not to fear anything, but actually your capacity to sabotage your plans. Spoke about that on the show before, but we're getting into it. And patience, in my opinion, is one of the most important quality one may develop through the years, or as early as possible. And as difficult as it really is very rewarding. And it's amazing that when you give enough time to time and let it do its magic, the things that you've longed for, the things that you've sacrificed a lot for, that you've worked so hard for, will indeed happen. Not exactly sometimes the way you had planned, not exactly how you had envisioned them to be, but it happens. And so today, I was earlier this evening, I had a call with my good brother Olive, and we were actually talking about that. We were talking about the fact that no matter what, you have to be patient. Patient with yourself, patient with others. You gotta be patient. You gotta learn to appreciate the value of patience. And there's nothing more difficult, in my opinion, than achieving that, because it's so counterintuitive in some ways, right? It's like you want something, you want it now, and especially in today's world where instantly, through the swipe of your phone, swiping up, etc., clicking a button on your computer, whatnot, you have access to an array of things that are very material and that may tend to sort of quench your thirst and whatever need you have developed. But if we're looking at essential things in life, they do not happen through the flick of a button, or just because you want it to happen. It starts by that. It starts by the desire to want to see things unfolding for you in a way that's going to be positive, that's going to be rewarding, because you're working hard, you're sacrificing, etc. But what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't happen when and how you had wanted it to be? What if? And I think that what if is extremely important, because it humbles you and it allows you to really just understand that, what? Yeah, it's okay. One of the techniques to alleviate the anxiety, well, in a mild form, but for some people it could be also very extreme anxiety. But that's that anxiety where you want to see things happening now, like, man, I'm going through this and it's not easy, and this and that and the other, and I'm doing all this work, and I'm as hard as it is, and against all the odds that are happening in your life, is when you have to be the most patient. It's when you have to be the most calm, which is not the kind of response you usually have to a stressful situation. So I don't think that there's one way to go about it. We all develop our own rituals and our own structures and our own approach to how we manage to tame the animal in us, inside ourselves. So whatever way works for you is the right way. And so when you look at prayers, patience, and perseverance, it still is connected to the three P's, or to the initial three P's that I was talking about, which was patience, patience, patience. Because even though at that point now we're tapping probably into more of a spiritually inclined approach, it still is the same. When you pray, you're not gonna get the instantaneous results, right? It's a process. because it's how you also pray. It's how you also, I think, align yourself with the prayer that you uh, formulating, right? Your intentions, how truly aligned you are with what it is that you setting intentions for. Then um, patience, because the time it takes for that specific thing you've asked for, to the universe, to God, to Allah, to Yahweh, to you name it, whatever works, whatever um, uh, name you give that energy, that power that supersedes everything. Depending on your alignment with that energy and how you have endured certain things, you will see some fruits coming out of some of the seeds that you've planted in a faster way than others. But when we're talking about remarkable and great things in life, I've noticed from my humble personal experience that it takes time. And that can be very relative, because taking time could be a month, could be a year, it could be 2 days, it could be 30 minutes, or it could very well be 15 years, 20 years. So you need patience, right? And then perseverance, because just because you've you prayed upon it, you meditated upon it, and you think you've been patient enough, doesn't mean that you should just stop persevering. You should just stop working on what it is that you've prayed for, because the whole point is not so much achieving what it is that you've set in your plans to be reached and to be achieved. Sorry, I'm repeating myself, but it's the journey leading you to the desired points. At least for me, because I know that I am giving myself everything I can to achieve my goals, to achieve my desires and my aspirations. So that if some of them don't happen as I had planned initially, it's okay, because there's no straight line to seeing through your plan. And that's how it is for everything in life, it seems. So the humility requires for you to keep persevering, keep being, hopeful, faithful, and really determined to see yourself growing as you are getting closer to reaching your goals. Because there's no way you can be granted, and even sometimes it happens. Sometimes you're tested, you're granted an amazing gift. Let's start with the easiest, money. If you receive a big chunk of money right now, my question to you is, what would you do? Right? What would be your first reflex? Some would play, thank you very much for subscribing, Aurelia. Merci beaucoup. Some will jump right away into some, shopping their lives away. Some will pay their bills, their debts off, etc., etc. So everybody have different sort of plans they have in mind when they work towards the fruition of those dreams that they formulated. And I don't have the answer to that question, because you gotta have, that's for you and yourself. But I don't have the answer for you, but I have the answer for me. And that answer is on two levels. One is I would say very tangible, very material, which is obviously taking care of the very essential things, which are making sure that you get everything sorted, your family is sorted, everybody's good, but also making sure that you've put in place plans and a series of protocols that will maintain these very people that you are sharing that blessing with accountable, so that everybody do their part, so that it's not a thing that it drains from ether and it's like, oh my god, it's amazing. No, 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 you have to understand the value of it. You have to understand that this is not just anything. It's it's something that has to be highly valued and respected, because it came either from a lot of sweat, tears, and sorrow, or it happened to be a grace that just fell on your lap and you have to learn to do something with it. But most of the time, people who have not been prepared by life, right? They have not been molded, by the experiences of pain, of loss, etc., will tend to do nonsense, right? And even if you are, doesn't mean and even if you were molded by pain and all these things, all these experiences of life, doesn't mean you know how to handle money, nonetheless. But the point is that if we're looking at this very specific point, and there's many other aspects in life, obviously, but this is the main thing that interests everybody, right? Is, okay, how am I going to make ends meet? And, I want to be super rich. I want to be a millionaire, and I want to do that. We all want to be something in life. But are you ready to pay the price of what it requires for you to be that? And sometimes, is the price worth it? Right? When you look back at the amount of sacrifice it takes to be that successful woman, that successful man, is it something that on the long run, when you look back, you would be like, was it all really that worth it? Not saying that it's not. It could very well be, and there's all good, there's no regrets. But the point is that because there's always a choice that have to be made in life, my personal take to it was like, okay, let me always weigh the amount of efforts I'm going to put into something compared to the amount of efforts I'm also going to put into myself, and making sure that the people around me are feeling fulfilled, with their heart filled with love, and, sharing as much of that positive energy I can. Because you know what, as we get carried away with work, we get carried away with everyday hustle, with everyday, grind, we tend to forget about ourselves, and we definitely tend to forget about the people we love, because we are doing this for them, right? And it's beautiful and it's very important. But the moment the things you sacrifice are for the sake of obtaining material results, or material sort of like comfort and safety and security, etc., you are lacking the opportunity to also build on so many other aspects, and again, there's no straight line, so there's not one way to do it. There's different ways, but of course, that is for each and every one of us to find out what that way or those ways are. So my take on this has always been like, okay, when I decided to become a musician, because prior to that, I was a diamond cutter. I was cutting diamonds in Antwerp, in Belgium. My father was a very renowned and respected rough diamond dealer in Central African Republic. My brother is still a jeweler. Actually, he makes amazing jewelry. The idea was to create this whole family business and, create something massive. And there was all the potential in the world to do it, except that, the way things ended up happening did not allow this vision to be seen through. And interestingly, it took us in so many different directions. And at that point, you're like, okay, am I truly embracing these changes? And as much as I may be disappointed, or as I may feel a certain way about, not seeing through the initial vision, the initial plan that my father had for the family, etc. Does it mean that it's the end? No, it's not. It's an opportunity for a new beginning. But you see, you cannot see that unless you're surrounded also with people around you that lets you and that allow you to just sometimes just move your head from a couple of degrees left, a couple of degrees right, or up or down, etc., to look at the very situation from a slightly different perspective and realize that, oh shit, there's so much more, right? There's so much more, and I was just stuck on this idea that I had, and this desire, this vision that I had, and for what? So in other words, you have to be patient with yourself to go through these learning phases in your life. Patient with yourself to learn to also be these new versions of you as you keep evolving. Because, when people say, oh, you've changed. Well, of course I've changed, but the core me is still going to be me. But it's layered with all these masks and all these facades that we had to put on, or clothe ourselves with in order to protect ourselves from the outside world. And as you grow older, you realize, at least for my personal understanding, that you need to not so much. Well, of course, you have the whole phase over here. You have to be tough, you have to be strong. But when you've done all that, when you as tough as it gets for your capacities, and you feel like, okay, I've done that, but I'm still not completely fulfilled. I'm still not 100% in balance with myself. I still not feel 100% with what I'm trying to do and what I'm doing. Why? It's almost like you have to unlearn them again. So you have to learn to be caring of that part of you that you've had to conceal because of life happening and taking responsibilities, etc., which is completely normal. But at a certain point, it's going to bite back in the ass, because you can only conceal, you can only hide your true self to yourself and to others for a certain amount of time. The truth will always come back. The truth is stubborn, as they say, and it's something that you cannot run away from, especially when it is your very own truth. And so the earlier you try to face it and you try to accept it, the better you will feel about the direction you take in your life, whichever they might be. And that doesn't mean that you'll feel always 100% in accordance with it, because I think that when people say they feel 100% every day, this, that, I'm like, yeah, possibly so, but something about that concept bothers me. Not bothers me, but feels a bit overly done, where it's like, I'm always happy. Yes, fundamentally, yes, you probably are. But is that happiness covering pain, or what is it? It's like a clown, right? You always bring this happy face, but behind that, you completely shattered. And I think we all have that mask on, right? Lorraine is saying the conflict we avoid with others usually starts a war within. True. Joel Amen TV, setting your own rhythm and tempo. Absolutely agree with you. But as you set your own rhythm and tempo, you need to do the work. And sometimes the work is just learning to set that rhythm and tempo, and like pacing yourself down or accelerating, or I don't know, whatever the rhythm needs to be at that specific moment in your life, But one thing for sure is that um, if things go too fast and you don't take a moment to pause yourself and observe, I'm not completely sure you'll be able to capture or grasp the finite details of the picture you're looking at. You know, I'm not 100% sure. But again, that's something that you can train. Train to be fully efficient at a very, you know, fast pace, so that you can have this adaptative intelligence that allows you to just rebound. You know, Master Electronic, what's going on, man? Welcome, welcome, brother King. Welcome to all the queens and kings watching the show. Appreciate your support and presence. Please make sure you press those like buttons. Make sure you also show some love at the donations if you can. Super chat, super stickers, PayPal, Binance, you name it. You can even donate with cryptos. Support the music, stream the music on your favorite streaming platforms. Do the do. You know what to do. Definitely subscribe to the channel, of course. And so, patience, patience, patience. As a kid, I remember my eldest brother, who passed away 20 plus years ago now, offered me this watch. It was a Snoopy watch. It was black and green. I remember to this day all the details of this watch. And it was written on it that c'était quoi le message encore? I forgot the message, man. But it was something about patience. Because I was a very impatient child. Master Electronic, thank you very much for the donation. Appreciate you, King. Appreciate you indeed. Let me see, what is this window? Yes. Now it's better. Here we go. And so it was written something about time, right? Learn to be patient, and understand that everything will happen when it's meant to be. Exactement, c'est ça. Chaque chose arrive en son temps. Tout arrive en son temps. C'est ça. C'était ça le message. Everything happens on its own time. And when I received that watch, I was disappointed because I was expecting toys from my brother, but he offered me that watch. My older brother was very. My older brother would have been 53 this year. He would have. He was very scientific in the way he was thinking. That guy was. He died. I was 11 years old. Yeah, and so. Not even I was younger than that. Almost. No, 10 or 11, yeah. And so this idea of preciousness of time, the importance of being patient, was pivotal and also utterly important in the makings of me as a human being and as a man. Learning not to be hard on myself and learning to nurture me in a very caring way, and not just nurture me in a mechanical way. You feed yourself, take a shower, make sure you clean, you smell good, whatever. That's all good, but what about what's really deep inside? And so for me, these 3 P's are really something that have always been part of my life. And it so happened that this conversation with my brother today, my brother from another leave, sparked that. And I was like, I wanted to talk about patience and perseverance again today, but he said patience, patience, patience. And now I was like, you have no idea what you just did right there, man. It's almost like you you've spoken mantra to me that triggered something in my consciousness, you know, because all of us, no matter where we are in our lives, whatever we be doing, we all have some levels of frustration because of the amount of work, the amount of energy we put into what we do, and a lot of the time not seeing necessarily the results being what we had wished them to be. And there's many reasons for that. It could be just that you're not patient enough. You probably not use the right tools, or you probably, some people are just blocking, the opportunities, etc. Whatever may be the case, you have to identify and learn how to find ways around the problem or solve the problem. If it's completely and directly in your capacity. But a lot of the time, if you really think about it, you have all the capacities in the world. Should you take the time? Should you actually take a moment and just breathe in, breathe out, and just let the answers come to you? You will find sometimes that, oh, this small way that I did not see, let me take that pathway. Next thing you know, you're exactly where you wanted to be. You bypassed all the blockages. And when people, they're expecting you that way, when they look behind them, you're already there. And they're like, Chilla, hey, you there? Okay. Yeah, it's, oh, wow, what? Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm all good, Let's keep it moving. We need to really be patient, man. It's something that is lost. And so glad I was reminded again. Not that I'm not patient, but every once in a while you get frustrated, you get irritated by certain situations. You're like, oh man, this is not that, this is not that. And it's like, no. First of all, gratitude. Where am I? What am I doing right now? Where am I going? The point is, I know what I want to do. And I know what I need to do. That in itself is amazing. You imagine the amount of people that don't know what they want to do. They don't know how to do it. They have no idea whatsoever on how to approach the whole thing in order for them to get to their plan, their goals. Dimitris, Kalispera, Elare Malaka. What's going on, brother? Hope you're good, man. Sending so much love to you and the fam out there in Zakynthos. That's right. Big shout out to my musical family in Greece, yo. Miss y'all guys. Actually, miss all of you guys all over the world, man. There's so many cities. I look forward to be back to as soon as we're able to travel again and back to our normal lives. So yeah, understanding the necessity to really observe the grace you have from an eye of gratitude, the grace you have to know what it is you need to do. You don't know necessarily how to get there, but you know what you need to do, which is first and foremost consistency, accountability, perseverance. You gotta persevere. You gotta really be determined to keep going at it. Nothing will happen overnight. And if it does, it's an amazing breakthrough. But then you have to work on solidifying that breakthrough and making this shit happen. And so yeah. Again, those are my ways of functioning, right? I'm not saying that you should do it. I'm just sharing my technique, or some of my techniques, or some of my, you know, perspective on these topics, which I think can always be of use to some. You know, it may not be to others, but that's okay. That's fine. You know, we there's enough out there in the world for us to find from whomever we're trying to find the, you know, we're trying to feed ourselves the information we're looking for. So, and even more so, as Dimitris is saying, you know, the world is changing. It's a new era. Yes, it is. And so should be life, right? So is life. Things change. Changes can be brutal, and changes are usually very brutal. They're not comfortable at all, you know? So the earlier you learn to try to be as the best you can at peace with the whole thing, the much better you are, you know? Because then you dwell less on the sensation of loss, and the grief over the loss of this thing that you had, and you start realizing that you need to be like, I'm thankful for what I had, but I'm so blessed for what is yet to come. And that whole concept is so very hard for a lot more people than we think. And I realized that through conversations with people that are close to me, and with whom we've had countless conversations about, like, yeah, but look, this is the mind frame you need to try to work on, which is, you know, learning to be grateful. And again, it implies patience, because how can you be grateful about something bad that happens in your life? You know, something bad happens in your life, you technically thought to hate the whole world, or your first reflex is to hate the whole world for what happened to you. And I'm not judging that experience and saying, no, that's wrong, because you have the right to hate everyone and curse everyone, and, you know, and yeah, do what you need to do to allow that pain to be lived and to be experienced fully. But once you've fully experienced the pain, you've gone all the way down, what else is there for you to do? Kick yourself back up, right? Because how much time are you planning to stay all the way down? Because believe me, it gets very comfortable. Being in your misery gets very comfortable. You know, feeling powerless, feeling like, you know, cannot do nothing about what's going on, what's happening in my life. Or, for example, you know, look at COVID and look at what's happening. You know, I have a lot of my colleagues. They're like, oh man, you know, we don't have no gigs, or we won't, you know, we will be ever able to travel the way we did before, this and that. And it's like, look, of course we will. You know, like, people tend to forget, like, you know, this world still functions with, you know, very rudimental, well, very technological things, but you still need electricity to power, you know, everything in life, right? You need those fossil energies, whether, you know, we are yet to find, you know, ways to fully function without these energies, but you still need them. So, you know, for as long as there's going to be plane in the sky, there's going to be cars driving, even though it's all changing to becoming more this, more that, less this, less that. This change has to also happen in your mind. The idea of understanding that the change is necessary, and I'm not saying that you being stripped from your liberties and stuff like that is something to accept. No, of course not. You know, we can understand to a certain extent, you know, being deprived from a certain amount of liberties for the greater good in the beginning of this whole thing when it happened. Where it's like, okay, cool, you know, I get it. You know, we don't know what it is, but until we figure out, okay, let's stay home. That's fine. But then at a certain point when, you know, things have been figured out, or at least they've understood, they've really gathered all the intelligence they needed to gather to really, you know, truly understand what this whole thing is, then yeah, you know, But that's a different debate. But the idea is just being flexible enough to understand that, okay, things may not and will not always, and most of the time won't go your way. But it's how you adapt to those changes, and how you allow those changes to affect you, you know? And don't get me wrong, sometimes you just don't fucking feel like fighting. You feel like, you've given it all, and what else is there for you to do? It's normal as well. Patience, patience, patience. You will be rewarded. And this is not some like, oh, no, it's you don't have to believe if you don't want to believe in God or in anything. It's mathematical. As long as you make the math work for you, otherwise the mathematics will work both in the positive but also in the negative. It's like, hey, you're gonna get negative results if you still do the same shit, which is like, if you don't kick yourself back up, yeah, shit will happen to you, but in a very shitty way, continuously, like as you were saying, Demetrius, like a loop. But this is a fucking wrong loop to be on, right? And not saying that there's no harmony, because you need, obviously, the balance of the polarities. That's necessary. We need those polarities, but to which point are you willing to go? How far are you willing to let these negative voices take over? How much are you willing to put into in terms of work and consistency towards building the quality of life that you want to see being manifested for you and the people that you love? And sometimes you see and that's why the cover of today's show is my father and I think I was 16. No, I was 15 or 16 on that picture. We were at I'm not sure if it was I believe it was a how do you call this in English? Une veillée, waking. No, somebody had just died. A collaborator of my dad had just died, and he was a very, very important man, very influential, and very important man in terms of his contribution to the community. He was Muslim, very highly considered by everyone, all religions, from whichever cross of life and walks of life and religions, because that man was a very, very, very generous man, and just, yeah, very kind, very kind. And so and I remember that day. It's very interesting. That day, we went, and the way I'm standing is because my pants. I was in a hurry to dress, because my dad was like, "Well, we need to go present our condolences to the family, etc." And so it was a pen that was not properly sewn together, and so yeah, it cracked. And I, it's a small, very simple and stupid detail, but anyway, it's connecting to what I'm saying in terms of patience. Had I been a bit more patient, it would have been taken care of, and I would have not snatched. Because, well, for the story, basically, my mother was working for many, many years with, all the big haute couture companies, brands such as Yves Saint Laurent, Gianfranco Ferré, Christian Dior, etc. And that from Central African Republic, and we had our own master sewer at home, and he was an amazing man. He knew how to take care of cloth accordingly. And so, anyways, I took the pants, blah, blah, and I was in a rush. And my father has always told me that, look, yes, you have to respect time, but you also have to understand that if you're not preparing yourself, when shit hits the fan, this is exactly how you're going to be. When you're not going to be comfortable, where you need to be seated, and now here you are feeling frustrated because you're not able to truly communicate or be in communion with everyone, because you're scared that somebody is going to see your ripped off pants. And so it was a very uncomfortable, to say the least, very uncomfortable position. But there was a message that I got from that early on. I was like, okay, cool. Next time I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to make sure that I prepare as much as I can for whichever situation. And so yeah, I made sure that I was setting myself for whichever situation the best way I could. And again, it's a very simple and maybe very dumb details for many, but you see, the devil is in the details, right? So I understood the value of that very simple message, and I adapted it to a real important life situation, which was, okay, look, you have to be ready. You have to make sure that your shit is on point. Like when it comes to your clothes, okay, cool. If you're going somewhere, try to wear, or you're going to be traveling, make sure you be efficient, right? Be efficient so that you don't have to waste time with things that could have been avoided had you taken the time to initially plan things. So it's all about preparing, but not in a defensive way, but in a well, you got to know how to defend yourself. But it's not so much in the sense of fearing what is external to you, but more you being ready for whatever comes, because you don't know what's going to come. But as long as you're ready, which is the reason why you should practice some martial arts a little bit. You don't have to know a lot, but you have to understand how your body functions, how you flow. You need to you need to learn how to read, and if you don't know, well, learn to read, or find somebody that can help you learn how to read, and that's something, for example, that I never really was taught. I never was taught how to read. So that's why, for example, if this is a very great book, as a matter of fact, you should get it. Felwine Sarr, Méditations africaines, absolutely amazing. He's an amazing thinker, philosopher, musician. Man, this guy is amazing. You can get this book on Amazon. I've got a few of his books actually that I've actually ordered and received last year, and I'm starting to read them. This is really, really good as well. So I've heard. I haven't read it yet. This is a book that he advised, and I'd ordered as well. And yeah, that's another one. And there's a couple of others that he wrote. But yeah. But I never learned how to read, so I was always very much unable to read a book from beginning to end, unless I was really passionate. And this taught me something. Okay, cool. Is it important for me to know the basics and learn how to navigate, or and will that help me go as far as I want to be going? Or do I need to actually have the flexibility of mind and the preparedness of mind and person by also doing things I don't like? And obviously when you're a kid or you're a teenager and stuff like that, or adolescent, you don't want to do shit that you're not feeling, it's annoying as fuck. And as I've, thank God, been able to grow older and gather more knowledge on life through my experiences, I've realized that actually not saying the more you do the things you don't like, but the more you're able to do things that initially you wouldn't like, with a with a mindset of, well, this is to actually prepare me. Because if I only do things I like, if I only work on things I'm enjoying, it's not saying that there's anything really wrong with that. But if I'm only in comfort, whenever there's going to be something uncomfortable, I would not have the mindset or the mental preparedness to emotionally handle that difficult moment or that not so nice moment, right? So the moment you really are able to acknowledge these things, you're really able to take in these informations, and you're able to really just appreciate the value that resides in being patient with yourself, being resilient, perseverant, is the moment you realize how amazing the enjoyment of the fruits of your hard labor is. Because something you've not worked and sweated for, the enjoyment of that thing is not the same. And then you learn afterwards, it's interesting, right? You learn afterwards that, well, once you've enjoyed it, it's cool, but you have to get back to work, because that's when it gets harder. You got it, cool. Now, how do you work on maintaining and elevating from that point on, etc., etc., etc. So it's like, from learning how to crawl to learning how to walk, to learning how to run, learning how to fall. It's very interesting. And yeah, I think all these things require patience, perseverance, and determination, faith, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, the 3 P's, that's what it is for me. Patience, 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 prayers, patience, perseverance, but make it yours. You can call it different things. And developing a series of habits that a set of habits, not a series of habits, but a set of habits that you really try to respect as much as you can, like a ritual almost. It will keep you sharp, I think, or at least it does for me. Every morning I wake up, I make my bed, clean up. Yeah, go to the gym. This week, for example, I won't be able to go to the gym. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to work on my stretching, because I haven't done much stretching. I've been going to the gym every day, but I haven't been doing much of stretching. So since I cannot go to the gym this week, I'm going to be doing my stretching in the morning. And I'm going to take a moment to do things differently. I realize that, for example, I have a garden. I don't take enough moments in my garden just to sit and just take a moment to just breathe and just be there, right? I'm going to do that. So again, if you don't take a moment for yourself, a moment of quietness or whatever that may, just take a moment for yourself. A moment will take you. Don't be foolish to think that the time that you're wasting, or not wasting, that you're investing in something else but yourself is something you can gain back. But you can always, of course, decide to take that moment and then probably lengthen the word's coming in French. I don't know why it comes. Sometimes when I'm tired, the word's coming in French. Agrandir. Ça allonge it extends your experience and the quality of your experience. Right? So yeah, one day at a time, man. One day at a time. We go at it, Resilient, patient, working hard. Stay at it. And, people will talk, but that's okay, As we say in French, les conseillers ne sont pas les payeurs. So people will say what they say. They may advise you what they want to advise you. They might come and say, "Oh, you should not do this." Look, you're not paying my bills, and even if you were, you know, that still doesn't allow you to, um, think that you have this or that control, etc., etc. But you'll be fine. Whatever it is you're going through, whatever it is we're going through, as long as we do our best not to let these thoughts, these negative thoughts, take control over our reasoning for a long period of time, we'll be able to, overcome the challenge. It's all about trying your best and working on not dwelling too much with negative thoughts and negative ideas and self-destructive, thinking. Nobody's perfect, man. And the funny thing with this internet and stuff is that it gives you a fake and very fake idea of perfection. There's no such thing. With that being said, that was my little correlate. Well, it's in a bit of a correlation to the topic that I touched on last week about the career thing and being able to see things for what they are as well. Because that's another thing, right? It's like when you're able to see a situation for what it is, you might be bothered by it. Of course, it's normal. For example, if you're not performing enough, or if you feel like you're not getting the love that you feel like you deserve, but nobody cares really. Nobody cares to really know about your problems. Nobody really cares to know, or very few people at least. But actually, you know what? I would have to say recent observations of mine that allowed me to see that even those closest to you, by closest to you, sometimes it's a family member, or even closest to you, they don't care. They don't necessarily always want to know about your shit, and how do you deal with that? Do you feel like your whole world is upside down and you're lost? You can feel like that, it's your right. But is it necessarily the right approach? I don't know. For me, at least, it's not. And I really firmly believe that me choosing to see things as much as I could, as much as I can for what they are, allows me to be at peace when things don't go out, don't pan out the way I imagined or envisioned, because I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It is what it is. It's not fun, but it is what it is. Life goes on. Next, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. That's what it is. That's what it is. Staying sharp and on target, and keeping yourself in check and knowing that everything's gonna be fine, even if you don't know that, but telling yourself that is comforting. Because at the end of the day, yes, you can be pragmatic and realistic, but what does it even mean? Be realistic. Yeah, okay. For what? According to what? Upon which topic, etc. Do you, man, find who you are and find who you need to be and be that fully, entirely, and unapologetically, and if it doesn't work out, then try to do something else. You have a whole life to make trials and errors and so it is what it is. But it's scary. We live in a world that's not making much room for failure, as if failure was the end of someone's life. You learn through failures. For me, somebody who's too successful at some things, at things, not saying that it's bad or anything, or they succeeded in everything, they've never had any failures, I don't trust them as much. I prefer to, honestly, and that's really something that I've experienced myself. Yeah, man. Somebody who struggles, somebody who's gone through shit and who's managed to come out of these things triumphant in one way or the other. Those are people that inspire me more than somebody who's not had any failure in their life. Which I'm like, it's cool, But then what if shit hits the fan? How are you going to be handling that? Since you're so perfect and you've not had any loss, not had any, you know, supposed failure. You know, you need all these things, man, to appreciate quality of life and the blessing that you are to others and the blessing that you have to be here now. Even if you may not feel like everything works out and you may not feel like, you know, you have any added value, you do. But you have to stop comparing yourself to others. You have to stop comparing yourself to people that you, so-called people you look up to. Because people you look up to, you will never be them. You will be a version of you that is inspired by them or by the regard that you bestow upon them. Because guess what? They also need you, you know? We all need one another for different reasons. Make sure yours are not so oriented towards fulfilling the ego. But anyways, a little bit of ego can be healthy. You just have to dose it. At least that's what I'm doing for me. So, to each their own. That's it, family. This topic could go on and on and on, but you know, I do have a little bit of work to do in the studio, which I am in the studio. So, I just wanted to talk about these 3Ps, man. I'm gonna try to invite Phil Winsor. I really want to invite this guy, man. I'm really gonna try to do as many conversations I can with more and more people. You know, even my boy here, Demetrius, man. You know, Mountain of Inspiration. One of these days, we need to do a show together. You know, if you have the time, you know, just talking about life, man. You know, it would be dope actually. Joel, amen. You know, we should definitely do it. I'd love to get you guys on the show and just chop it up. Yeah, you know, learn as well and exchange great ideas, laughters, etc. We need to laugh too, man. Can't always be too serious. Life is really too serious. That's why you need to laugh as much as you can. You know? Because in the end, all of that can be gone like this. So, yeah. Anyways, family, look, I appreciate you taking your time. It really means a lot to me. And, you know, I'll be looking forward to chopping it up with you next Monday. And I might definitely have a guest, which is also something that I need to start structuring as well for the show, which is like, okay, putting together my list of guests that I want to have on the show. Oh, Papa Clécha, oh là là, vraiment du courage. Cherchez vraiment à vous rétablir, mon cher. Je t'appelle après le show si tu n'es pas trop fatigué rapidement pour prendre un peu de nouvelles. Sending you healing energies. Vraiment du courage. Si. En tout cas, Lorraine, thank you very much. Joel, amen. Merci beaucoup. Dimitris Katsikinis. Elare Malaka. Efaristo. For your presence indeed. Mountain of Inspiration, merci beaucoup aussi. Vraiment, thank you for those of you also who are probably watching the replay all the way to now. That if you've watched it for about, it's been an hour, 11 minutes, then hats off to you. And before you log out from that conversation, and if you haven't done it just yet, make sure you press that like button and you subscribe to the channel, right? And as always, you know, you're most appreciated indeed. Y'all have a beautiful rest of your week. No matter what it is that you're doing, remember to be patient with yourself, with others, as much as you can. But be patient with yourself, first and foremost, and know that everything will be fine. Y'all have a good week, yo. Peace. And sorry for the technical issues that we had in the beginning, man. That shit was just like so frustrating. But it will be solved. It was my fault though. I was actually working on a song that I'm gonna be releasing this week, and I'm up here on the truck, banging. Um, and I was like, okay, let me touch up, and it was like 15 minutes before the show, and then by the time I stopped and I went to set up the system for the live, it was already like 5 minutes to the show. So like, shit. Artists just want to be artists. Peace, family.